All right, you guys ready? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast, a guide to fast casual fortunes. You got myself, Brandon, and Joe Collin here.
Hey, man.
How's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good. How's your day going?
Well, you know.
I do know because I've been dealing with it all day.
It's another day. Yeah.
I got a call.
We're another truck down.
1 out of 3. So this is gonna be an awesome. It's gonna be an awesome podcast, though. So this is gonna be the highlight of our day. All the fires we put out. We got a special guest, Jeremy Sheets. How you doing, sir?
Good. Good.
Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Taking the time to have a chat with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So this podcast is mainly about like helping food truck owners and other business owners. And so it's always awesome. We got a successful business guy on here to, give advice or, just talk about your story and your background. And you're kind of like a serial entrepreneur, right? I mean, look at all those logos on the TV, right?
It seems to be, yeah.
Yeah. So what was your first business?
I was thinking of that actually leading up to this. Kind of my first pseudo business way back, like when I was a teenager. I think I filed a DBA for a company called Elite Auto Sound.
Nice.
And there was really nothing elite about it. It should have been called Cheap Auto Sound, because we're broke teenagers and buying the Pyramid. I don't know if you've ever heard of the brand Pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really weren't known for the
it's
quality.
At Walmart, isn't it?
Right. Well, I don't even know if Walmart carries them anymore. But the company that I was working for at the time, I got them. They let me set up an account through them, and so we were buying, cheap subwoofers and amplifiers and putting it in people's cars. I mean, I don't think we ever made any money at it. Really, it was always, like, oh, I can upgrade mine a little bit now too. So that kind of fizzled out, and then 1994 started Crystal Microsystems, and did that as a partnership with another guy. I was 20, 21, and after 3 months he said, hey, I don't like the way things are going. Even though I was doing all the work, and he said, I want you to buy me out. And I'm like, buy you out? Buy you out of what? And so.
Mic check.
All right. Back from a little bit of a. Can you hear me over there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Back from a little bit of a mishap. So our tech guys over here. It's always the tech guys. All right. So speaking of tech, you started a tech business is where we're at.
Yeah. So started a company just doing building computers, doing networks, that sort of thing. And then a few years into it, we decided that it might be a good idea to get into this new thing called the internet. And
that's how far back we're going?
Yeah. This is 1997, where we decided to start a dial-up internet company. So that was the latest and greatest at the time, and we built that, snowballed it, and eventually that company actually got bigger than our computer company, and because we kind of started as a side hustle, and then it just took over. I mean, obviously the popularity of the internet went from dial-up to DSL, wireless, cable modem internet, and now we're doing fiber internet too. So
I'm going to get so lost in the tech side of this because it's intriguing to me. So how'd you build out this infrastructure?
It was just, I think one of the advantages we had was we were so young at the time that we didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We weren't afraid. As I tell people.
You didn't know the beast you were taking on?
No. And I tell people all the time, I go, if you want to start a business, there's, in my mind, there's 2 ways to do it. Start young when you've got no obligations, no mortgage, no family. Worst case scenario, you fail, you end up back in your parents' basement. Mm-hmm. And you start over again, Or if you're further along and you've got a career, then, build this as a side hustle. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot of time, but build it until your side hustle is bigger than your 9 to 5, and then you can leave your 9 to 5 goodbye. So, again, we were young, didn't know what we didn't know. learned a lot of it. School of hard knocks, seat of our pants, try things. But at the end of the day, we were a bunch of nerds, and we just loved it. You know, we got to go to work every day and play with cool stuff and make cool things happen.
And you're so early, you're probably ahead of a lot of the regulations.
Well, you know, the internet business really has not been very regulated, believe it or not. About the first big regulations that came about were net neutrality, and I think that was in 2015.
Okay, so yeah.
Which, again, not to get political, but net neutrality was about I always explain it to people this way. I go, net neutrality was about as neutral as the Affordable Care Act was affordable.
Yeah.
You know, they package these things up and you're like, wow,
The name sounds good.
what can we name it so people will think this is great? Because they're never going to read all the stuff. They're just going to read the thing there. And, you know, it was a solution, in my opinion, it was a solution to a problem that the market solved itself. But that's a whole nother story. But other than that, you know, we do have to file certain annual filings, certain quarterly filings, but you know, we're less regulated, I would say, now that I'm in the food industry too. You know, with having to do water samples and your yearly stuff. I mean, the food industry is more tightly regulated than the internet industry. I know that might sound a little strange, but
we know it well.
I guess we can't necessarily kill people if we on the internet side.
If the internet dies.
Yeah.
So back what you were saying too is with your business partner, he didn't offer. He demanded a buyout.
Demanded a buyout, and I remember, you know, I guess this is something that's of value too. I remember, you know, I was 21 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
what do I know about business and buyouts and all this stuff? So I went to our very first business customer, who was a great guy in Ithaca. He had a printing shop, and we always got along great. And I said, man, Scott, I said, here's the deal. I said, he wants me to buy him out, and I'm thinking I should just start a new business. And he said, listen, he said, for what he wants to buy him out and the terms he's given you, just buy him out. He said, then way you guys part terms on good terms, and he's not competing against you.
You don't have competition.
He's not bad-mouthing you. And you know, it worked out great. And to this day, he and I are friends. And that happens again in my life. 2013, my next business partner, we part a company where we talk every day. Chat, you know, it
doesn't always go that way.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And partnerships are tough. I mean, I tell people partnerships, I mean, it's almost tougher than being married to somebody.
Very similar.
You know, but one of the things we didn't always agree. This is on to my second business partner. You know, there'd be days that we would be adamantly, you know, upset, but every morning we hit the reset button and we started over. We didn't drag it on, and we didn't, you know. And I think that's a little bit of difference between men and women too.
Yeah.
You know, women,
The feelings
they're like,
can be left behind. Yeah.
they pull all the stuff out, and guys, we just hit the reset button. And I tell my guys this, I say, you know, hey, you know, you might not have the best day today, but tomorrow we're going to come in, we're going to hit the reset button, and we're going to do it all over again. We're going to try it. Like, think of it like a video game. We're trying to get a high score every day.
Yeah.
Some days we're not going to. Some days we're going to have trucks that break down, you know. But let's hit the reset button every morning and try to do the best we can.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of my best lines, actually, yesterday, one of my other businesses I forgot to mention, I've got a small marina. It's a complete spoof. It's called Crystal Lake Yacht Club. There's no yachts there.
I've been to Crystal Lake. There's
But we have redneck yachts. We have pontoon boats, okay?
Yeah.
And so that was the whole spoof on it. Well, yesterday morning I get woken up by a text message that says, hey, somebody just backed into your sign and it exploded our sign. Wow. And, you know, I'm like, well, we don't have a time machine. We can't rewind it. And the lady was really like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. And I said to her, and I use this line all the time, I say, you know, if that's the worst thing that happens today, I guess we're doing all right.
Yeah, that's the thing about being in business. You learn that quick.
Yeah, you do. And some people have the appetite for that, and some people don't. My former business partner, if things would go sideways early in the morning, he was wrecked the rest of the day. I just plan on something's going to happen. You know, I mean, you don't stack your schedule too tight because you're gonna bump, a whole bunch of things. I wake up in the morning not sure what I'm going to do, what's going to happen, what's going to break. I mean, I remember last week, I guess with the ice cream business, I woke up in the morning and got an alert on Facebook Marketplace that there was an instant burger machine available in Coopersville.
Instant burger?
Instant burger. I got to tell you about instant burger. Instant burger.
Yeah, I have to hear about this.
Yeah, this is good. So and I've been looking for one for our other store. We've got two ice cream stores, and so I messaged the guy. I said, "Hey, is this still available?" Sure. So I wake up and on a whim, I go, "Well, guess I'm driving to Coopersville today to buy an instant burger machine."
Yeah.
But the instant burger machine. Let's talk about that. And I guess we can jump back. I tend to get off on
that's my interest level too.
Yeah. So the instant burger machine. When we bought the Ike's ice cream store back in 2022, one of the machines that they had is called Instant Burger, and it looks kind of like a George Foreman grill, but it's flat on the bottom and flat on the top, and it's got this thing. Like, I guess take a panini press, a George Foreman grill, and I don't know what else, and slap them together, and you've got Instant Burger. And it runs off a 240 volt, 30 amp outlet, but it literally cooks 2 burgers in like 40 seconds.
Jeez.
Oh, I'd never known this.
And how it cooks is great too. What it does is it just electrocutes the meat. So you put fresh, we take 1/4 pound balls of hamburger, set them on these 2 plates, you close the lid and hit the start button, and it electrocutes, and there's very little smoke.
I say probably no smoke or grease.
Very little heat, and because it cooks it so quick, the burgers are really juicy.
Might want to keep this secret. Might want to edit this out.
Well,
this would be perfect in food trucks, to be honest with you. Especially if you don't want to deal with
absolutely.
fire department.
Well, there's a lot of power to consider, but
yeah, 30 amps, 240. It's up there. That's what it's breakered at, so it probably uses 20. But they're great burgers. Way better than any frozen microwave shot. And again, it's fresh.
40 seconds. Is the most you can do is 2 patties at once?
2 at once. Yeah.
Do they make them different sizes?
I don't think so. I think they're all one size. Now, interestingly enough, when we went to pick this one up, it was in immaculate condition. I go, what'd you guys use this for? And he said, we made hot dogs on it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And I go, hot dogs? Tell me more.
Yeah.
And so they literally could. It looked like, based on the marks on it, that they could do, I don't know, 4 or more hot dogs at one time.
Same time frame?
Same time frame. And what he told me is they'd keep the hot dogs, in hot water, but then when somebody ordered one, they'd stick it on there, zap it.
So it's done, yeah.
It gives it that nice grilled look to it, and they've got hot dogs, which we do our hot dogs in the deep fryer. I don't know if you guys have ever had them
No,
like
I
that.
haven't.
When I first heard that, I'm like,
Yeah, I've never
deep
heard
fried
such
hot
a thing,
dog.
yeah.
I'm like, this is something you're going to get at the county fair.
Right.
Well, you're not putting batter on it. I'm like, oh, I guess you could. And then they call it a corn dog. But just you can just put your regular hot dogs in the deep fryer, and oh my God, they come out like they've been on the grill, and they're juicy. And so that's another, if you've got a deep fryer.
He's the hot dog guy, too. I'm surprised you haven't heard about it.
No, I haven't. That's it's fascinating as we're talking about this. You have this, maybe some humility here, but CMS is a big company, right? It's a big company in the area, and you have these ice cream shops that, by comparison, I doubt are on the same level. But you can tell you're passionate about it. You love it. And you're getting up and driving to a random place to grab something for it. So that's pretty neat.
It is.
As an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter the scale of the business, probably, right? It's like children.
I don't know what year it was, but I remember telling somebody this. I go, for me, fortunate enough, it's not about the money anymore. I mean, I think the first time that happened for me was way back in the day, and it still was about the money, but it wasn't. Let me just give you an example. Like, I would get more satisfaction off sitting down with a family or an individual and explaining them the inner workings of a computer and what each component does to help them decide what they want to get. This was back in the day when we were building all our own computers. And, I'd spend an hour, 2 hours in going through that with them, and we'd get to the end and they say, we really think we're going to go with you. We want to buy this computer. And say it was $1,200. And that would make my day, versus get a phone call from a business. Hey, we need 10 computers. When can you have them? It literally like a 10-minute close a $10,000 deal. And I'm like, God, I didn't even really work for it, And that was kind of that was an aha moment for me, where I was like, okay, it's not about the size of the deal anymore. It's really like
how much
helping people and really maybe working for it, because a lot of businesses these days, you're doing things. Some of them are electronic, some of them are digital. You don't have that start, do the work, finish, completion. Now, obviously, food is a little different, but my friends jokingly, well, I don't know, half jokingly, say I sell ones and zeros in the internet business. Like you can't see them.
Yeah.
They're there. They do something, but we're selling ones and zeros, versus obviously when we're making a burger or a hot dog or whatever, it's here you go. Here's your hot dog.
Yeah.
So
that's cool that, just like I said, that you're passionate about anything you're involved with.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. It's about business, so much of business. If it's about the money for you, you're probably not going to love it. Like a lot of it has to do with the hunt and the excitement and everything around it.
I could tell getting to know you too. Like, I think I reached out to you just spontaneously about setting up our food truck at your ice cream places.
Yeah.
And I just know that we can use our marketing, but really, I mean, like you said, it wasn't even about that. It's just like, if I can find someone else too, that we can like collaborate, that's always what I'm trying to do. And, you were super appreciative of it, and you let us do that. No problem. And our philosophies match up a lot, which is really cool. Me and you sat down for lunch one time. But I'm enjoying this conversation because me and him have the same philosophy when it comes to like starting a business too. We try to tell people like, don't quit your 9 to 5 until,
Right.
until it takes off. Really test out your concept.
Yeah.
Make sure it's going to work. And then it's the same idea. And then we do this podcast, and we do a group with over 300 trucks. We do all this to help people out. We don't really get paid to do it, but that's where we find our joy too, is just helping people grow and, get further along and try to avoid all the mistakes that we make if you can, so it's awesome to hear that. And especially at your success level, that you still have that same mindset. So like, what kind of like drew you into the food industry, I guess?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Are you?
Actually.
That's fair.
So the how it went down. This family had this nice little ice cream shop in my hometown of Crystal, which we stay there during the summer, come back here during the school year. It's close. It's 35 minutes door to door for us, so it's not a huge deal, but I love it down there. Again, that's where I grew up. I know a lot of people. That's where CMS started. We have quite a presence there, quite a customer base there. Anyway, they had this ice cream store right across the street from our CMS office. And Tim, the owner, nice guy, he and I really clicked, and casually, and this was years prior, I said, hey, if you ever think about selling this, let me know. I might be interested. I'm not sure why I said that. I guess maybe it was investing back into that community that's done so much for me.
Yeah.
That community is so near and dear to me. It's just, I can't even explain it, So a couple of years go by, and he calls me up one day, and or no, I remember what it was. We'd talked here and there, and he said, hey, we're going to sell our business in Carson because my wife's running that all the time. I'm here all the time, and we don't see each other. He said, we're gonna try to slow down a little bit. And I said, all right, I get it, and I was kind of maybe a little bit bummed, but hey, I don't need to do this. Yeah. And then like a month later, he's like, hey, the deal on the Carson business fell through. So were you still interested in when you said that you might want to buy this? And I go, again, I'm not sure why I said this, but I said, yes, I am. And I think start to finish, I think we closed the deal in like 2 weeks.
Jeez.
Wow.
We did it before the end of the year. which that helped out tax wise. But again, we're closed. It's a seasonal business, so could get no training then. It wouldn't do us any good. And so he did come back the beginning of the next season and help us, get up and going. But I completely underestimated how difficult a food business is to run. No, I've got a very good friend of mine who's in the food business, and he's got, 6, 7 restaurants. And, I hear all of his trials and tribulations, and we jokingly have said, man, you couldn't give me a restaurant, And then here I go buy an ice cream store. But I'm like, well, ice cream stores.
I drive here at 6 in the morning. He's at the Green Spot already.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's there.
Yeah, my friend. Yeah.
His day's probably started an hour before that.
and he's helped me, too, because I knew nothing about food. I knew nothing about dealing with the health department. None of these things.
So many regulations, yeah.
So this was the summer of 23 that we ran this, and it was like a hot mess survival. Our ice cream machine on the warm days, it couldn't keep up. It would start getting soft. There was days I'd get a phone call like, hey, the ice cream machine's not working.
It's hard to run an ice cream business.
Okay, wow. So I'm there tearing into an ice cream machine that I know nothing about and doing what, you're in survival mode. And I've learned that, and I knew that, like my friend there in the restaurant business, he's told me stories of MacGyvering stuff together to just make it through. I think my best one, I had 2 good ones. The instant burger machine, right? The start button quit working. So I go, man, we really need to sell burgers, and it's going to be a while before I can get a start button. So I'm like, I got an idea. So go across the road to this CMS building, and I steal a computer. Right? Uh-huh. And you take the cover off the computer, and it's got a reset button. So I tore it apart. And so for like a week, we had the reset button out of a PC to start the instant burger.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that one was good. And then just this past...
we're not that smart.
Maybe a month ago, they called from the Vesterberg store, and they said, hey, the flurry machine's not working. Ooh, that's not good. That's our top seller at that store, Flurries. So I show up there and I'm like, yeah, sure enough, it's not working. I'm thinking the motor's dead, whatever. And just for the heck of it, I tore the cover off, and I decided to bypass the switch, the on-off switch, and it works. So the switch went bad. Like, this is literally like a toggle on-off switch. I'm like, how often does that happen? Right. The switch goes bad. So I take this small paper clip and slide the spades onto this paper clip so it connect them together, and then took some packaging tape and put it around that. And I'm like,
you got to connect it on your own.
And I'm turning it on. I'm going, I hope it doesn't glow, because if it glows, it's probably going to melt through this non-electrical tape. Yeah. And as luck would have it, though, we had some foot pedals there that are air switches. Uh-huh. And so while we hot wired that switch together, they were able to turn it on off with the foot pedals, which they weren't using the foot pedals there because they'd never had the foot pedals before. We brought them in, and they're like, we don't like the foot pedals. I go, that's okay. If you don't want to use the foot pedals, don't use the foot pedals. But that night, I said, you're going to have to use the foot pedals now. So
that might be the first time I ever heard somebody that did something crazier than us. Like, I don't know how you came up with that. Like, it's his
he
background.
Dug into computers for his whole life.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Like, we've had to rig up like some things, and one of our things that we talk about is we had to rent a box truck, remember? And then we had to cut off like one of the hitches. We rented a box truck, and they had like a lock on there. But I thought
you couldn't hook up a trailer.
So you couldn't hook up a trailer. I was like, "Why does this thing have a hitch if you can't hook up a trailer?" I thought they forgot to give us the key, and the place was closed.
It's like 2 a.m. I got an angler cutting the lock out of it.
I think I remember you telling me that when we had lunch.
Yeah.
That's
and
a
then
great
it had
story.
a load capacity alarm on it, and so every time you went over a bump with this, it was just beeping. And then like our guy said it beeped the whole way down. But we've had to rig up some things like that. I mean, just in the food truck industry, things are breaking down, but never like electrical, having to wire things
CMS,
up.
you guys, I mean, you got big equipment. I'm sure you've had some stuff go wrong with that.
That whole, so I'm a computer nerd, right?
Yeah.
And then in 2017, we decided we're going to start doing our own underground, putting our fiber underground. And so we buy a drill, and we buy a plow, and we buy a big truck, and then we buy a welder, and we buy a torch, and I'm go, what's a computer nerd doing with a welder and a torch? It's like we get into these things, but again, it's like, hey, we'll figure it out, and that's the can-do attitude that maybe I helped instill at CMS a bit, like, hey, we'll figure it out. I know some of the new guys come on in the IT department, they go, well, I've tried everything I can, nothing we can do. I go, you got to understand, we're the top of the totem pole here, okay? So there's nobody for us to call. Okay, we will figure this out. You just got to be persistent and get at it. And CMS, the management team that has bubbled to the top there, they're just they're my A team. I mean, they make things happen every day, and they figure out these problems and solutions. And I tell people like it's raining out right now, and storms probably not very good for an internet company, because especially if there's lightning, it's going to zap some of our stuff. The wind's going to knock lines down. But I will tell you what, I'm the most proud of my guys when we're in an adverse situation. They step up and come. We knock it out of the park. I think that's what we do best at. And because we're still a small company, right, we're just under 50 employees. We have a rapid response. We can call, hey, yep, I'm on my way. Yep, I'm on my way. We don't have to go have a meeting and do this and that. We just make it happen. And I think that's one of the things I love about small business is there's way less red tape. We don't have to have 10 meetings. We don't have to do a market study. We were picking. I remember this is probably a year ago. I'm at we call it our fiber barn, the red barn there on the south side of town, and my guy says, "Hey, we're thinking about expanding fiber to this town. What do you think?" I go, "Well, I don't know. How many customers you think, and this and that?" He told me, and I go, "Yeah, let's do it."
Wow.
And literally, it was less than a 1 minute deal.
Yeah.
Now it was within our footprint, but big companies can't make decisions like that.
Right.
Well, that was probably $1 million decision on the fly, I'm guessing.
I don't know if it was a smaller town, but yeah, it was probably a pretty good number. I probably don't even want to know the number.
It might have been a longer conversation.
yeah. It's probably better, and it takes a few months to build out. So, that's we had that conversation earlier about using the cash flow to kind of fund things, and especially right now in the environment we are with interest rates being so high, it's kind of teaching us all a lesson, and kind of like, hey, do we really want to finance? Yeah, money's not free. Do we really want to finance that, or can we get by funding it with cash? And if you can get by funding it with cash, all the better. Your financials might not look the best.
Right.
That's what I wish we could have 5 podcasts, because I'd love to dive down, the deeper underbelly of a business that's, 50 employees is a large business in the small business world, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of moving parts. There's, like you said, you're thinking about cash flow probably a year out or whatever the case is. Just the ability to think about that, we're thinking about, a couple dollars here and there. We're thinking about, you got 50 people to support, you got customers to support. That's just fascinating to me that you built that. That's incredible to me that somebody from Crystal, Michigan figured this all out.
Crystal, we've come to the conclusion it's something in the water in Crystal, actually, because I'm not the only internet entrepreneur that's come out of that,
really?
And as well as other people in the communications industry that have gone on. Years ago, there was a company there called Great Lakes Communication Company, and they were a local business that did work for telephone companies all over the country. And they would hire local people, train them, and then send them out on the road to do these things. And gosh, it's crazy when you look at the web of where all these people ended up and what they ended up doing out of Little Crystal, Michigan. You would have never thought. But and then ironically, that company, Great Lakes Communication Company, I ended up buying their building in 2014 and their cable system at the same time. And this is a company that when I worked there as a teenager, I'm like, wow, my God, this company is
cool.
How amazing is
amazing.
that?
And I'm like, I never would imagine in a million years that I would be kind of taking over the reins of or what was left of Great Lakes Communication Company. I I'm very thankful to the owners for taking a chance on me when I was a bratty punk teenager, that they saw something in me and offered me an opportunity to work for them. That was my first real job. And I learned a lot there and really found that was my passion. Mm-hmm. And that was something I want to key on too. You can't always align your passions in a business together, but when you can, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. If there's something you're passionate about and you can figure out a way to make a living at it, follow that. Mm-hmm. There's a guy I know in Grand Rapids that he great success story, but early on his passion was photography. Well, he figured out that he couldn't fund the lifestyle that he wanted to have on photography. He was an amazing photographer, but obviously it has its limits. And so he built, I don't know if he ever had any failures. He may have had some failures along the way, but built, sold, established these businesses. And then I think at the age 40, he basically had enough reoccurring revenue coming in that he was able to get back to his passion, which was photography, and not have to worry about whether the photography would pay the bills or not.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a neat concept because, say someone's passion is photography and they can't figure out, hey, I've got a family, I can't, just me, I can't build it into what it needs to be. Maybe try another path, maybe, start a business and build that up, get it operating, and then either let it keep running and have it subsidize your life, or sell it and then you're good to go there. Use it as a vehicle.
That's kind of how we view a lot of what we do. Mm-hmm. We have things that we want to do, and I said in the last podcast, we're big dreamers, but we need money for those dreams. Yeah. So that's I love our business, but there's other things we want to do, and I think it's a vehicle to fund those things. That's how I view it too.
Yeah, and any time that you can turn your passion, into a career, that's a huge milestone. Yeah. And I could have probably multiple conversations and podcast episodes with you too, but one thing I really want to touch on that has been sitting with me since you said it is how much Crystal gave back to you, and you purchased Ike's from it, and it's always. You always get this incredible feeling like if you can be part of a hometown brand, right? Like if you can acquire one, or you can start a hometown brand, because there's nostalgia for everybody. There's just a lot of sentiment to it, and we're having unique talks with a hometown brand. But you said something very interesting prior to this too, to this podcast, when me and you were talking. You said there's a difference between manager-operated and owner-operated businesses. And so I'd like you to touch on that, because that's one thing that's a situation we might be in if anything happens here. But
he said no, by the way.
Oh, he did? Yeah. Okay, well maybe not, but I still want to know your perspective on that. The differences.
Well, so the two ice cream businesses that we bought, they showed me their numbers from the year before, the revenue numbers, the profit, and I trust them both. And the reason I do is their numbers were pretty close to the same amount of revenue, same food costs, same profit at the end of the day, but they were both owner run. Okay, so that owner's
$30,000-$40,000 off the top.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And not only that, but when the owner is there, they see things that employees don't see. They see things that a manager doesn't see. I mean, I walked in one day, a couple months ago, I guess. And remember I was talking about the instant burger machine, how you have the quarter-pound balls. Mm-hmm. And I'd never really paid attention to them rolling the balls.
They turn into half-pound balls?
Well, no, the opposite.
Oh, jeez.
And I said, how many ounces are you guys measuring on there? And it was like 3 something. And I go, how's that work? They said, well, it starts as 3, but then when you cook it, it turns into 4. I went, that's maybe I don't know what I'm doing, And I go, I don't think that's how it works. And it's funny because when I look back and I'd ordered a couple burgers there the previous week, so I'm like, these things are coming out like little hockey pucks,
If that instant burger can grow your burger too, we need one of those.
How much do they cost?
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, hang on, I think there's some confusion here.
Yeah.
But again, had I not noticed that, how long would that have gone on?
It would have taken 50 complaints before. Why is everybody complaining about this burger size?
Right. And you got portion sizes. I think we're handing out more ice cream than we should be right now. It's something on my list that we got to deal with. I'm like, let's measure that small because I don't know if I could eat that small soft serve.
It's probably hard, coming from what you do. You really, like, it comes down to cents.
It does.
It's
yeah.
We had scoops, and all of a sudden somebody brought in these bigger scoops. We're like, Jesus, why are these scoops so much bigger? It's 2 scoops, but now these things are massive. It's literally counting pennies, which is annoying as hell. But in this business, you have to.
Yeah, it was from a 3-ounce scoop to a 4-ounce scoop.
Yeah,
but you're doing that every single time. You know, so you're losing an ounce. Well, ours is 2 scoops, so you're losing 2 ounces every single time something goes out, and you add that up in the thousands and thousands. That adds up quick.
So I've told this on this podcast before, but you'll appreciate it. My dad was good friends with John Spears, who owned John's Drive-In.
Oh yeah.
And he would sit down with him every day for lunch, and the waitress brought my dad his meal and 2 napkins. It came with the meal, napkin, silverware, and a cup of ketchup. And she brought out 2 napkins. And he's like, I've never seen a man so mad about napkins.
Wow.
He's like, he lost it on this waitress. But he goes, John, in this business, I know exactly how much that meal costs. And it's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep. And he had that napkin figured into the cost,
wow.
So and we're not that extreme at all.
Well, we kind of are. we were going through about 3,000 napkins a week, and so we kind of changed what we were selling. But yeah,
so I thought of that story because of that. We went from a half-cent napkin to a 2.5 cent.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it comes down to crunching those numbers because, especially like you said, the food industry, the margins are so slim that every little bit helps. You know, and so have you ran into things like that where you just have to make cuts or have you got into the numbers at all?
We do our food costing at the beginning of the season, and it's best effort.
Yeah.
It's almost a guessing game sometimes.
It is a lot of a guessing game. We probably should do it more, and I feel like we finally got the operational side of things dialed in that we can start now looking at the data a little more. What are our top selling items? What are our bottom selling items? Both of the stores that we bought, neither one of them had point of sale systems.
Oh God, cash.
So you had zero data.
So you really had to trust these books.
Really had to trust the books.
Jeez.
Yeah, really had to. They were writing it down on the things.
Wow,
and
tickets.
And in fact, one of the stores didn't even take credit cards.
Really?
And I'm,
cash.
And that was one we bought at the end of the season, which.
So you probably could have said their numbers were about 20% more than what they were showing.
I don't know. I know our numbers are right on. Ours are dialed, but that and that was interesting how the second store, and we can get back to the first store. I'm sorry, jumping around, but so we're halfway through the season in 2023, our first ice cream season at Ike's, and I mean it's just. Do we have enough staff? Who's going to call in? Scheduling was a huge problem, and I remember I was out on my boat, and I get a text message, I think, from the owners of Farmer in the Dell, and it said, "Hey, are you still interested?" And I'm thinking, geez, Jeremy, you got one hot mess going on right now. Do you really need 2? And then I thought a little bit more, and I'm like, I'm going to call her. I'm going to call her back. And so I called her back, and we had met in the winter prior, but he was ready to sell. She wasn't. You could tell. It was just one of those deals. I'm like, hey, no big deal. Let's get through this next season, and then at the end of the season, if you guys are interested, I don't know. Maybe I will be interested still. Maybe not. Depends on how this one goes. But I said to him, here's the deal. I'll buy your store, but you guys come with the store. Mm-hmm. And this family had lived and breathed the ice cream business. Her mom actually built and started Farmer in the Dell in 1978.
Jeez.
Wow.
So other than a few short years where it had changed hands and then came back to the family, these people have been in ice cream more than anybody I know. I don't know, Clyde might have been started before 1978. I don't know, but anyway, they had built a great business, has a great following, a menu 2 miles long. I mean, compared to the menu we had at Ike's. So I said, I need your help getting the Crystal store to run as good as this Vesterberg store does. And they said, yeah, we'll do it. And they're the greatest people. I call them my ice cream consultants.
How valuable is that?
Yeah.
So was the appeal to them like, okay, we're taking the stress of the business off us. We'll get a salary, and we can do what we love and not have to worry about the business part of it?
Yeah, well, they were retiring is what it was. And so they helped us get things going here in the spring and helped with the staff training and helped with the menu. Like we started bringing – I want to eventually blend the two menus completely together. I mean, it's funny. I tell people being in the ice cream business is kind of like Taco Bell. You know how many different things you can make out of like 4 different ingredients?
Right, yeah.
You know, and then you end up with a menu this long. And so we brought about half of the Farmer in the Dell menu over to Ike's. I think they kind of picked and choose the top sellers of like their flurries and stuff that we added and brought some other things, really expanded the menu at Ike's, and which is kind of interesting. We found out that we were already using the same soft serve
Really?
at both stores already, which they thought they were the only ones that had that soft serve. I don't know if we thought that or not. We just thought it was soft serve. You know, we didn't know there was any
There was
difference.
no specialty to it.
But it's funny because I'll see customers and I'll say, hey, you know, if I'm at the Crystal store, I'll say, hey, have you ever gone up to the Vesterberg, to that Farmer in the Dell place? And they'll say something like, yeah, we've been there before, but we really like the ice cream here better. Okay. And then vice versa.
Yeah.
I'll be at Vesterberg. I'll say, hey, do you ever go to the store in Crystal? And they'll say the same thing, like, well, yeah, but we like the ice cream here we like it better. They use a different ice cream here.
Nostalgia is a powerful tool.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's probably a mind over matter thing. But it's been fun because we really never made a huge announcement about it, but there were hints. Like on Facebook, late last fall when Farmer in the Dell was closing for the day to take the staff to a ball game.
Oh, yeah.
We made a little post that said, hey, we're going to be closed for the day, but our good friends at Ike said that they would take good care of you. And I'm sure people's minds are going, what's going on? What's going on with this? You know, like, boy, they're sure friendly. You know? But honestly, that's something else I want to touch on too. Being friendly with your competitors. Life's so much better when you're friends with somebody else that's doing the same thing you're doing versus enemies.
Yeah.
You know,
We preach that all the time.
it's huge. You never know when you're going to be in a bind and need a part or a piece or a bag of chicken strips or something, you know, like that. And you extend that helping hand whenever you can, and maybe you'll need help, maybe you won't, but that it'll come back to you.
Yeah, I'm sure you experienced that. And you bought probably what was a competitor, right? To a point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're 10 miles away. Ice cream, I think, is
No,
kind
I
of
mean
a local.
with CMS when you bought the Great Lakes.
Oh, well, yeah, they were kind of, not really, but yeah, some similar things.
I mean, you see that across. I work for Verizon, right? So like,
Yeah.
you see, if you really pay attention, they work with AT&T. You know, everybody's
Towers, yeah.
scratching everybody's back because you can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
You know, they can't. One company can't run the infrastructure that's going to be required to take care of everything. So.
It's just easy, you know, even on the internet side, like you said, I mean, we've found, hey, you know, be good friends with this competitor and that competitor. And in that way, if you're in a bind or they're in a bind, you can help each other, and that goodwill goes so far. We've loaned equipment to competitors of ours, you know, and I've called other people and say, hey, you know, we need a XYZ, and it's not like we can go pick that up at Walmart.
Right.
And oh yeah, we've got it. And here, take whatever. You need a spool of fiber. Here's a spool of fiber. You know, it just replace it. You know, you don't need to buy it. Just you know, make us whole again on it. So, and we find that even in the food industry.
The food industry can get bad.
Well,
cutthroat, or it
Yeah.
can be, food trucks seem to have
Yeah.
more camaraderie than anybody else. But
Yeah.
we trade food all the time. We do things like for each other all the time. But I know the restaurant business is cutthroat. I know the restaurant business has affected the food truck business with the regulations, and a lot of the licensing you see in towns is usually directly because of restaurant owners, and that they feel like they feel the conflict between
yeah.
But when it's food truck to food truck, I feel like all of us are pretty much looking to help each other out.
Yeah.
And so, I do have a couple questions if you don't mind, if you got the
Yeah.
time. Like, so something that really, something that I'm really interested in, and like, so say, because we had a guy come in and asked us to maybe invest in like a pizza place. So that's something that's kind of totally, out of our wheelhouse. Or we had a chance maybe to purchase a brand, which
Yeah,
Joe
it's
said.
funny you're talking about acquisitions and
Yeah.
that conversation's coming up a lot right now.
Exactly. And then, Joe, he said no already. But what I'm wondering is how much do you.
He goes, no, but I think it'd be perfect for you guys.
I know, exactly. I think it would be too. It's an integral part of our menu. Like, honestly, it's something that we could run with. But how much do you have to know about that business to acquire it and to make it successful, do you think?
Something that I've learned along the way is it's okay to not know anything about something. And I guess the best example I can give, you'd mentioned you bought that competitor, Great Lakes. Well, they weren't competing with us because they weren't offering internet. They had a cable network.
Oh, gotcha.
But they weren't offering internet. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anything about cable modems. But through one of our competitors up here, one of our friendly competitors, they gave me the name of a guy and said, call Uncle Jimmy. Well, I think that we started calling him Uncle Jimmy. And we called Uncle Jimmy up and we said, hey, we're looking at buying this cable system. This guy says you're the man to come tell us what we need to do and whether it will support high-speed internet and such. And he came, we hit it off. Great guy. And he looked the system over and he says, yeah, you're going to have to put a little bit of money into it, but not much. And he said, you're going to need to buy this. And he helped us get it going. And so, that happened in the internet industry, right? Mm-hmm. The ice cream industry, we buy Farmer and the Dell, and then they come help get us going, so I think it's okay to not know as long as you've got somebody that's an expert in that industry.
Sure.
That knows it well, that's willing to help get you going and get that snowball rolling for you. I wouldn't be afraid. Now, with that being said, I think you also can bite off more than you can chew. I mean, I've got a friend that's got a gazillion companies. I don't even know how many companies he's got. And my opinion, and I don't know for sure, but if he had 2 or 3 companies, they'd probably do better than all these gazillion companies. But he's spread so thin that he's not able to properly focus, and it's just every day is just a explosion.
Yeah.
And 10,000 phone calls.
He probably hasn't implemented systems properly in all of them to.
Well, I think it's systems, and I also think it's having the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's my big thing with CMS is CMS requires very little of my time anymore because
Was that a weird experience for you?
Huge.
I bet.
Yeah.
When you went in, they're like, "Hey, leave." You're like,
We don't need you.
Well, I found that it works better when I'm not there.
Yeah.
But
that had to be a weird time when I'm no longer needed at this.
As a business owner, one of the biggest hurdles is giving up control and trusting your people to do the right thing. And some business owners can't do that. Mm-hmm. Some business owners will micromanage to death, and they're the limiter, they're the throttle limiter on their own business, because unless they say pull the lever or press the button, it's not happening. It's like you might as well just hire robots.
Yeah.
If you don't want people that can think, just hire some cheap robots to do this, or completely unskilled labor.
Yeah.
And so
Well, they're probably also unwilling to develop anybody because nobody's as smart as them. Never going to get
Nobody
there.
works as hard.
Yeah.
We've seen that.
my accountant years ago said this to me, and it's one of my top 10 things, and I relay it a lot to people. I go, he said, Jeremy, everybody's replaceable, even you and I. And I think I was talking to him about, hey, we've got this high-level engineer that he's talking about leaving. Man, I just don't know, should I offer some more money or whatever? And then he said that to me, and I'm like, he's right. You know what? We'll figure it out. We always do. and we did, and we were even better afterwards. Those other people, when I mentioned earlier how the right people seem to bubble to the top, they bubbled to the top. And if I would have still had him there, I wouldn't have got this guy that's even better, and to me, the biggest accomplishment of owning a business, of building a business, is when you get to the point that business will function without you. It becomes its own living, breathing organism that the bills get paid, the customers get serviced, everything just runs.
People get hired,
whether you're there or not. And
it gives me goosebumps.
I know.
it's again, I mean, because from a business owner standpoint, that's freedom. That's time that you're getting back. And I always remind people, I'm like, I called up a friend that does electrical work and had him go look at our sign at one of the ice cream stores, and he tore into it, and he's like, well, you need this and this. He says, I'm not going to charge you for today. He says, because I need to get some parts and stuff. I said, no. I said, your time is valuable. In fact, no matter how much money you have, that's a finite resource that you only got so much allocated to you. So your time is valuable to me, and I want to pay you for that time. And it sunk in. He's pretty stubborn too, but he's like, well, okay, I guess, and I know he was just doing it to be nice, but I'm like, that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that their time is valuable, and like I said, the best thing as a business owner is when you can get that thing to run on autopilot, if you will. It's just awesome. I remember, I don't know, this was probably 8 years ago. We went on a trip to Florida. It was a guy's trip. Went to the boat show, and it was literally all business owners. It was all small business owners, and it was interesting to see how many guys' phones rang, like top to bottom, and how many guys' phones didn't ring. And of course, the guys' phones that didn't ring, we were giving the other guys crap about it. We're like, don't you have people that can handle that for you? Like you really needed to take that call and tell them, and like, you need to empower your people to make decisions. Yeah, they're going to make mistakes. We've all made mistakes. I've made big ones. I've made little ones. I mean, I ask my wife, I make mistakes daily,
Before you wake up.
But yeah, exactly. And if not, she's got some from yesterday that she still hasn't brought out. But, you just got to get the right people in place and take care of them, treat them well, but let them do their thing, especially when they're top performers like that. And magical things will happen. But it's probably been on autopilot, I would say now, for about 9 years.
Wow.
Okay, so it took a while.
Yeah. I jokingly, I say, they don't let me do much there anymore. I sign the checks sometimes, not always, and I do seem to be the only one that can change the paper towel. We've got an automatic paper towel thing. And
these other people are busy, Jeremy. They're doing stuff.
And toner cartridges. Apparently, I'm the official toner cartridge changer, because you go to print and, toner's empty. Because nobody else has needed to print lately. So if you guys need any toner cartridges changed or paper towel dispensers refilled.
See Jeremy just wandering the halls.
Let me know.
Can you fix something, please?
It kind of happened as far as that first. I remember it quite clearly. We had just bought our cottage, and I told the family, I go, we're going to stay in Crystal this summer. We're moving there. As soon as school's out, we're moving to the cottage, because I want to make sure we're going to use this cottage. And so I started playing hooky a little bit, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And, I was driving back maybe 2 times a week, and then maybe once a week, and then if I didn't have anything else going on here, and I realized, wow, these guys, they've got it. They've got it down. In fact, I think it ran better, like I said, when I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? And it's funny. Speaking of that, one of those aha moments, I wanted to, and this was a long time ago, I wanted to log into one of our big routers at the time. And I don't even know what I was going to do. I just wanted to log in and poke around. And so I go to our network admin and I said, "Hey, what's the password for this box?" And he says to me, "Why?
You don't have clearance.
Why do you want to log into it?" And I go, "Because it's mine." Well, and I was kind of like offended at first.
Yeah.
My first impression was like, "What do you mean you're not going to give me?" And he did give me the password, but later on I looked back at that and I said, "You know what, Jeremy? You looked at that wrong. He's taken ownership. He really cares about this company and wants to make sure I'm not going to screw anything up."
Yeah.
I
As small as we are, our guys do that too.
They do it to
They'll
us,
complain
yeah.
about stuff, and I'm like, they're not complaining because they're proud of this. People mess up on one of their units, like they leave something dirty, they're ticked. I'm like, and that is a good thing. Like you said, they're proud of it. They're taking ownership of it, and the right move is to empower that. Yeah, it's hard to realize that in the moment.
Yeah.
One more thing I really want to know about is because what this guy, we actually had him on our podcast. He's right. He's doing it's a really successful structure in what he's doing. He's taking over pizza places, but he's rebranding them to his brand. Have you ever had any consideration on rebranding these ice cream places into a unified brand, or do you feel like you're going to keep these brands the same?
I guess the way I look at that, when you're acquiring a business, an existing business, unless it's got some problems and unless it's got, you can tell real quick, go to look at their Google reviews. And I mean, when we bought these two ice cream stores, they were both sitting at a 4.6, which ironically is where CMS sets.
Yeah, that's where we sit.
What's up with a 4.6?
Yeah,
That's where we're at.
And so, and again, nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. Humans make mistakes. Equipment breaks down, what have you. But, you're looking at that and go, hey, overall, they're pretty happy with this. If they've got that good rating, and talking to people, you can tell if a business has got a good reputation. And so, I never for 1 second thought of changing the names. Now we've obviously have an operating company and then DBAs for both of them, but
customer facing.
In that Vestaburg, I want to get back to that store. Just a quick thing, At first, I thought it was really strange how they were like, well, we're thinking about selling, we're not thinking about selling, and they were just really hesitant. And it was, I think the big thing was they wanted to protect that whole magical business that they'd built in this community. And it hadn't really sunk in for me. We bought it August of 23, so we had it 1 month. And then this spring, I met with a local Little League guy there, and we were sponsoring. I think CMS was sponsoring a team, and Farming the Dell was sponsoring a team, and we had to fill out some stuff, whatever. And I remember the guy said to me, he said, this place is the best thing we have in this town. Mm-hmm. And again, delayed processing, what have you, I kind of brushed it off at first, and then I think a couple days later, I played that back in my mind, and I text the former owner, and I told her, I said, I get it now. Mm-hmm. I get it how important this place was, and they were very like, okay, what are you guys going to change? And I said, we're going to change as little as possible. I do have an interesting ice cream story with that, though. But I said we're going to add a point of sale so I can look at the data. We're going to take credit cards, But other than that, I don't want to change anything. You guys have a great business here. We're going to hopefully make it even better with technology and that sort of thing. But I said I want to keep it Farmer in the Dell. There's no, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mm-hmm. So. I don't know. I guess, years ago I learned that egos are expensive, and I don't need to name it Jeremy's Ice Cream, or anything like that. It's like, again, I want, I don't know. There's probably a lot of people that don't even know that we own that mm-hmm. store, and
That's okay with you. Yeah.
That's fine.
So there's a lot of people that don't know I'm a part of Nom Nom. It's like, whatever. I said that in these guys' podcasts. I'm like,
Yeah.
he can be the mouth. I'm cool
Yeah.
with that.
I do all the talking usually, unless we do a podcast, as Joe gets involved. But what I really like is that you're bringing things. You're doing collaborations with the two brands. You're bringing some of the menu over. It'd be cool to kind of like see a face off between the two, like have people vote for them and things like that.
Yeah, we thought about that because, of course, with point of sale now, I can look at the numbers.
Yeah.
You look every day.
And oh yeah,
I know it's a problem.
Oh yeah, like, ooh, what happened there? And so we thought about maybe having the two teams kind of have a little competition, but I don't know. I like them working cohesively as one, and I don't want it to be like, oh, well, we're going to hold off on giving them that idea.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, like, I've got some great people at the ice cream stores that, they're like, hey, what do you want to do for specials? I go, you tell me.
Nice.
You guys come up with something. You take the pictures. You post them on Facebook. Come up with, and they did. I said, I remember we saw another ice cream store that I know the people, getting to know the people even a lot better this past year. And I follow them on Facebook, which that's another great thing is follow all your competitors.
Yeah.
See what they're doing.
We obsessively look at a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. And they had a nice video done, and it was cool. It had music and stuff. And I thought, we should do that. And at first I was like, I'm going to hire some production guy and do this and do that. No offense, guys. I probably should. But I said, I'm going to see what my staff can do. I mean, they're all, high school kids, just graduated, whatever. And I told them, I said, hey, why don't you guys do a video for Farmer in the Dell and do one for Ike's and see what you can come up with. And they blew me away.
Yeah.
Were they perfect? No. But I said, I don't care.
It's perfect for the scenario, though.
And that leads me back to one of my things I tell all my people, no matter the business, I say, and this was a George Patton quote, I believe. The short version is, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow.
Yep.
That's really good.
And I really, in business, I think that's important because there's always something else that you could do. But I'm like, let's run with it, guys.
There was a famous one with Jobs getting on Wozniak about the same thing. Wozniak was the brains. He wanted it perfect. And Jobs like, I don't want it perfect. I want it now. Like, it will be perfect down the road. We just need to get this thing going.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, you can do so much paralysis by analysis. Like, we bought a snow cone machine 6 months ago. It made its first appearance 2 weeks ago because he finally just like, I'm doing this.
Yeah. It's sitting around long enough. Let's get it done.
So sometimes you just got to get out of the way, and you worry about what mistakes are going to happen. You don't know until it goes, and then you'll find out and fix it. But if you try to figure out everything ahead of time, you're probably fixing the wrong stuff anyways.
I always tell people, you can what if it to death. You can what if it forever, no matter what it, when you're making decisions on that stuff. Well, what if this? Well, what if that? Well, what if that doesn't happen? And
that's true. You gotta go now. You gotta tell us that ice cream story you had, though.
So the ice cream story, boy, I hope this one doesn't get out because
I hope it doesn't get out.
Yeah, this one. So this is interesting. So beginning of the season, you know how the food distributors are. They're always trying to get their foot in, and we had a relationship with basically all the big ones, and one of them wanted our soft serve business. And in the ice cream business, there's a 800-pound gorilla that does most of the ice cream sales in this state. And then there's your food vendor, your food distributors that they're always trying to get a little bit of that too. And they're like, hey, just try our vanilla soft serve. It's a premium product, yada yada yada. And so actually we drove up to a store up north that served their product, and I ordered an apple pie flurry, which was amazing.
Sounds amazing.
And that reminds me, I don't know why we don't have that on our menu because it was so good. And I'm like, yeah, this soft serve tastes great, And it was $12 a case less expensive. So wow. A case is 2.5 gallon bags of they call it milk, but it's the ice cream mix that you dump in the thing. And I don't know. I think between the two stores, I think we go through 1,000 cases a year or something like
Wow.
So you're talking some money.
that. It would have been real money. So I said, you know what? Let's try it. Let's see if any customers notice in this. And my ice cream consultants, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
And I said, it's one was 5.5% butterfat content, the other was 6. Who's going to know the difference between a 0.5%? No, granted, it's a different brand, whatever. I said, it's vanilla soft serve. How complicated can this be? And they're just, she was losing her mind. She's like, oh my God, this place is going to spontaneously combust if we do this. And I said, here's the deal. I said, I don't want you to tell a single staff member that we're going to do this.
Yeah, smart.
Because I don't want this telling them that there's a difference. And when the staff came in for kind of training, which we were fortunate, we got a lot of returning members back at Vestaburg, and that's just been great. My staff there is amazing. My staff in Crystal now is amazing. Last year's staff in Crystal, a little rocky. I think we invited 4 back out of the whole thing there. But we brought them in. I said, have them all make a cone, a vanilla cone. And I want to see if any of them say anything about it. Because the last time they would have had this ice cream would have been September of 23. And this was April, right? So we got, 7 months had passed. They all made them. Didn't say a word. What do I know, right? And I go, $12 a case. And it wasn't necessarily, I mean, I guess it was about saving the money, but I thought similar product, right? So I think about 2 or 3 weeks passed. And again, this is April, so it's not high volume yet. And we took a delivery of our hand dip at the Crystal store by the big ice cream distributor. 5 minutes later, my phone rings. And it's my salesman from this other ice cream thing. Hey, man, notice you guys haven't been buying any. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, your driver told you that they saw this other product in a cooler. I'm like, okay. I said, well, here's the deal. I said, it is what it is. It's $12 a case. And he said, well, let me see what I can do. And so I think within 24 hours, they came back and guess what? We were at the same price.
Wow.
For that old, premium.
So are you happy, or is like, hey, what have you been doing to me the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean,
how do you feel about that?
Maybe they're making it up on something else. I don't know. But I remember when I told our ice cream consultant, the former owner, I'm like, hey, guess what? We're switching back to your product, or to the product that you thought we had to have. And we now have it at the same price. And she was just ecstatic.
I bet she was.
And I was happy too, because seriously, she'd bring it up every so often. She'd be like, Jeremy, now we really need to talk about this. And I go, Janine, we had one customer complaint, and it was a night, I'm pretty sure that we had ran out of the normal product. And our backup product is this product called Frostline that is a powder that you mix with water.
Oh.
I prefer it. It's not as creamy, and it's cheaper, but because it's a powder, it's got a shelf life that's amazing.
Forever,
so we keep both vanilla and chocolate as our backup just in case we run out, which inevitably is always like a Sunday night, and our delivery is Monday morning. And I'm pretty sure that this product, the way he was describing it in his Google review, was which, let's talk about Google reviews too.
I know, right?
He said it had an icy taste to it and that, and I go, yeah, we probably were running Frostline because we had run out of the normal mix, and so I kind of discredited that one. But we're back to the premium product.
Premium with the premium.
Yeah,
We had a similar experience 2 years ago with our rice, because I think we go through about 1,200 pounds of rice a week if I figured it out right. And everybody loved the rice. We loved the rice, and it was during COVID or just after COVID, and that production team just couldn't keep up. And then so we had it on the.
And it was every week.
It was in July. It was our biggest month too. We had our biggest weekend coming up, and we couldn't get it.
He's like, we don't got it.
Yeah, so we had to switch. Right on the spot, and fortunately, it worked. There was a lot of complaints up front. like a lot. I mean, customers, but mainly our employees. Like, you can't go to this stuff. We don't like it, and it cooked a little bit different. It held a little bit different. But now that's our permanent rice, and that guy's, the old provider's been on the phone with us 6-7 times since last year, talking to the president of the company, trying to match the pricing. And honestly, we thought about switching back because they were going to be that close, but they removed an ingredient from their rice, and it's not the same
It's
anymore.
funny, we got that product.
So,
We're like, okay, we'll do a run.
Yeah.
And our guy's like, this is crap.
Yeah,
We need
going back to
it. We can't use this stuff.
yeah, they complained about going back to it, and it was different. But yeah, we had a very similar experience, and so, but now we found a new rice, and honestly, the cost is, you can't match it, but also like they've learned to cook it. They've learned, once you learn to deal with it, it's hard to switch to anything else.
Yeah. People hate change.
They do.
Humans are the worst for change.
I'm bad with that.
Yeah.
I have to get out of the way a lot of times. I always joke, I go through the just say yes to Brandon. My initial instinct always no, but I'm like, I have to get out of my way, just say, okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. What was the thing you wanted to touch on about the Google
So
reviews?
Google reviews.
Yeah. I know this is gonna be good.
Gosh, this one's great. So first off, something we learned, and I got to give my eye doctor kudos for picking this one up. I remember, God, this was, let's say 8 years ago. I walked out of the eye doctor one day, and my phone goes off, and it said, "Hey, how was your appointment there with?" And I go, So I'm like, I'm going to click this and see what this is. And it took me to a site, and it was just a basic page, and it said, would you recommend us to your family or friends? Yes or no? Very simple question. You click yes, it takes you to a next page that says, would you leave us a review?
Oh, smart.
Mm-hmm.
You click no, it takes you to a page that has a form there where you can keyboard warrior vent all day long, and that feedback's going directly back to them so they can address your concerns. Because we're living in a world today where the keyboard warriors, oh my.
Yeah.
They won't call the business and, hey, can I talk to the manager? Can I talk to the owner? They won't email the business, hey, I had this. They won't go to your contact form. They go on Google and they just vent.
And they resolve nothing.
I got a terrible story about that.
and so by getting in front of that, you can intercept those, and it's real simple. I mean, if you got a website, you just have a landing page that a QR code goes to, or you send them a text. Actually, with a food truck, you'd have a QR code, and hey, how was your experience? Scan here, takes them to that web page. Do you like us or don't? Yeah. If you do, hey, would you mind giving us because here's the other problem with Google reviews is I think
concern.
9 out of 10 people that are leaving a Google review, it's because they had a bad experience.
Exactly.
1 out of 10 has a good experience, or say you have 10 people that have a good experience, 1 out of those 10 are going to take the time to leave you a positive review. So without a little bit of holding their hand, incentive, leading them to the easy way to do it, your Google reviews are going to get really skewed, right?
Yeah.
And that's the important thing is you want to build up a good base of those positive reviews so that when you do get that impossible customer that, and I'll go on, I'm going to tell you one that I replied to, that is just not being reasonable. I always tell my people, hey, if a customer is being reasonable, take care of them. Mm-hmm. If they're not being reasonable and they're just, there's no fixing, we're done with you. Yeah. I'm fortunate enough that I don't need your business that bad to be treated that way, or especially my employees. If you want to call me and chew me and say whatever, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Don't do that to my employees. Mm-hmm. That's a trigger point for me. Yeah. And always has been, always will be. But so anyway, you build up those positive reviews however you can, so that when you do get that 1 star, and maybe you deserved it, maybe you didn't, but let's say you didn't deserve it, as I'll share with this one Google review, it doesn't affect you. Mm-hmm. And not only does it doesn't affect you, but it also gives you the ability to reply. I mean, you're not going to call them names, or you're going to be like, hey, you are the one that was unreasonable. I mean, unlike the Fortune 500s that get on there and go, oh, we're sorry, so bad, you know, and they just
Give them the world.
give them the world, you know. And I just don't think that's right. I think, you know, if you want to have it that way, then let us review the customers too. I've thought about starting a website that's
really
like customer review. Anyway, I'll tell you my favorite one of all time. This guy wrote this scathing paragraph how he showed up. It was a hot day and the line was terribly long.
Wait, so this was with the food business?
Food business. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have time to complain about an ice cream place,
You're right.
So I'm like, it was a holiday weekend, showed up, the line was incredibly long. And I'm
an
thinking,
ice cream place in the summer in Michigan.
yeah, I hope it's long because we live or die by those busy days, right? And he said I could have bought a cow, milked it, and made the ice cream quicker than how I received my ice cream, right? And so at first I normally I don't do this, but I went and looked at his other reviews, and this guy apparently was either the most unluckiest guy in the world, or he's just angry at the world, or unlucky, and because everywhere he went, it was always terrible, always a problem, you know. And you're just like, okay, so this wasn't a one-off deal. This obviously this guy, nothing's good enough for him, and so I had written out this whole paragraph about how, you know, and I said exactly that. You know, you appear to be a very unhappy or very unlucky individual. I read all of your 300 some reviews. I mean, that should have been a flag at first when you see that they've left 300
leaves
reviews,
a lot of reviews
all over, no matter where they went. And I had this whole paragraph, and I go, you know, that's just too much. And I deleted it all, which was good for me to vent and do that.
Yeah.
And I changed it to bring your cow and a stopwatch. Period. That was my whole response. And I'm like, that is way better.
That's so good.
That is way better than that paragraph I had of just, because it would just be a back and forth thing. And I'm just like,
He had nothing after that.
okay, you think you can make ice cream quicker? Let's find out. Let's find out.
That's hilarious.
That's perfect.
So.
The back to the, I'm huge on reviews. I mean, honestly,
I don't know if I should say this, but if you see that we have some free cheesecakes,
yeah,
there's probably a bad review. The first 5 positive reviews get some free cheesecakes.
it's incentivizing them, you know, like taking their time out of taking another time out of the day to let us write a review. But yeah, I do that. You know, we do try to incentivize it because somebody's taking their time to write something. I don't ever try to negotiate or I don't try to influence their opinion. I just say, hey, leave us a review. You know, here's an incentive. I mean, 90% of the time they're good, but you know, like we had this one guy that left a bad review, and like I'm just a guy that like I read all those reviews and I take pride that we do good, but more than anything that we can resolve an issue or that we can do better if you give us a chance to do better. And so we had this one guy, and he just left a terrible review, and I hit him up. I'm sorry, you know, I had that experience. Maybe we had an off day. You know, I feel like we could do better. And I was like, if we give us a chance to do better. You know, would you be willing to reflect that in a review? Yeah, of course. Well, he ate our food, and then he kind of like ghosted us or whatever. It was fine, but then I guess he ended up writing on Midland Complaints about like his experience with us, and without contacting me at any point in time, he didn't contact me. I reached out to him. In Midland Complaints, like there's literally a page, a group like dedicated to complaints, and it's bigger than any other group. And it just went off on there. And like people were saying, you know, like, you know, who cares so much about a single, because they saw my response that, hey, you know, I'd like, if you enjoyed our food, please update your experience. That's what I commented. Hey, if you had a better experience, please update your recommendation. And then like, they just went off on it. And, you know, it's just crazy that they're like, you know, how, like, is it really a big deal, like, to have a bad review? And but as a business owner, like, they don't understand, like, how that influences your business and it's people's perception, but also the fact that, like, 90% of the time, if we can do better, we want to. But we also had this other guy. I wonder if you have anything like this. We had this one guy that reached out to us. I looked him up. Every single month told us how bad our food was and asked us to replace it.
with a different name. But
And then
like,
he would
it was
switch his
close enough,
emails. Yeah. He would switch his emails every month.
Yeah.
Because
It's like,
we were
dude, you don't have a couple dollars to buy a wrap? Just say, hey, I need some food. We'll help you out.
so that's what was happening. He was trying to get free food. I was like, if it's so bad, like, why is this your fourth time trying to get free food from us? Yeah. And then I asked him that, and I was like, hey, I saw that you emailed us from this email, and then this email, and this email. It was always his name, but he would change the email.
Oh, wow.
And I typed in his name, and it brought up all these different emails he was emailing us from. And I was like, was it really bad three different times? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't think there's anything we can do to please you, to be honest with you. So let's move on from this, Yeah. So,
but back to you saying, is a review that bad? Being a consumer as a business owner is such a different experience.
It is.
You know, I mean, like
Absolutely.
It's you understand that this is their baby, like this is their life. They might have had a bad time, but like you can't hold them over the fire over it. Like sometimes businesses are bad, but it's a different experience as a business owner, and you can tell like people that aren't business owners, are they can sometimes be those consumers that are just unpleasable.
Yeah.
And unreasonable. Yeah.
What was really tough about that situation is because I had that conversation with somebody, and we always want to try to overcorrect, and offering people to make it right is usually giving away free food or replacing their food. And I had it with one of my friends, Tiki Sam. He was on the show, and I was talking to him, and like, is there a point that person ruined it for everybody, or do you keep doing the same thing? Like, have you ran into anything where you're experienced like correcting it and then people trying to take advantage of that kind of thing, or what are your thoughts on that?
Not that I'm aware of. We're pretty giving at the ice cream store. If somebody gets their ice cream cone and they drop it, give them a new one. No questions asked. Mm-hmm. If somebody gets their ice cream cone and they say there's something, no problem. We'll give you whatever you want. But I told my staff, if somebody's constantly, if it's the same person having that problem, but as far as I know, we've never run into that. Now maybe they just haven't told me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely want to take care of the customer as much as we can, and especially, what does it cost us to replace an ice cream cone? But if we don't do that, and then we lose out on them stopping 3, 4, however many times a week they might be stopping, that's a much bigger number.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Heck, you've given us a couple hours of your time. I appreciate it.
All good.
I gotta say, I've always admired you from afar, which might be weird to say to somebody, but you've been pretty humble. But you are a very successful business owner, and in a small community, somebody's name's up there, it comes up a lot, and a lot of people that kind of run the same circle. So It's been a pleasure to get to talk to you and hear your story. And it's kind of funny realizing no matter where somebody is at in this journey, they've probably had a lot of the same hurdles. They've been through a lot of the same tribulations. So it's, when you have a week or a month where you lose 2 vehicles and everything feels like it's going wrong, that there's maybe an end to that if you just keep pumping on. So I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what's the best way for people to like find your ice cream shops, or best way to see deals and things like that? Like just to visit your site and catch up on what you guys are doing.
Definitely our Facebook pages, Farmer in the Dell and Ike's Ice Cream Shack. Those they're staying pretty up on that. Again, that's cool. Let the staff
I don't think he'll ever do that.
I know. I'm having a hard time.
That's his baby.
I'm having a hard time giving that up.
That was an easy decision for me. Like, here, guys, you run with it, and they do a great job. Even daily specials, and the neat thing is they have fun with it. They can get creative, and I love it when they do the videos. Because they've got, I can't remember which one it is, but one of the girls at the Vesterberg store is really good on the video editing. Of course, it may just be an app.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, wow, that's really really good. I'm
like
like
a technology guy. That's
like if I can't do an iMovie, then it's probably not happening from my standpoint. Which I'm sure there's a lot better out there, but
he went from bleeding edge 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So
it happens.
Yeah.
and you know, like what you said earlier too, is time's valuable, and you spent a lot of time with us. So you know, I appreciate all the value you brought. I know a lot of people are going to listen to this and feel the same. Like you know, there's a lot that we got out of it, and there's a lot that we're going through, and so I know a lot of people are going to be able to relate to this. So you can, if you found this podcast on YouTube, we'll be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon. You can also check out our links at hibachininja.com or socials, and hopefully we can keep bringing you podcasts like this, guys. Appreciate you.
Hey, keep trucking.